Welcome back to the deep dive. Today, we are plumbing the absolute darkest depths to meet a creature that is really the stuff of ancient fear and, well, modern marvel. Imagine this massive, shimmering, silvery ribbon of a fish.
We're talking about the oarfish. And it's a creature so rare, so elusive, that when it does appear, it tends to spark immediate, pretty intense anxiety.
Yeah, especially in places like Japan, right, where local folklore describes it as a prophet of doom.
That's right. A messenger from the sea gods, basically.
Mm.
Its appearance on a beach is seen as a signal of impending disaster, maybe deadly disaster.
And that fear, it isn't just ancient history, is it? I mean, people point to clusters of these fish appearing just before the really devastating 2011 tsunami in Japan.
They do. So our mission today for you is to dive into the source material here. Is this colossal creature truly some kind of soothsayer of destruction? Or, are its appearances just a maybe predictable consequence of its own deep-sea biology? We need to separate the awe from the anxiety.
Okay, let's unpack this then. First off, what is the oarfish, scientifically speaking? Just how big are we talking?
Well, what's required first is really understanding the immense, almost unbelievable physical scale of this animal. It's not just a big fish.
Right. We are talking about the longest bony fish in the entire world.
That's the key distinction.
So when fully grown, you're looking at individuals averaging, what, around 8 meters long?
8 meters is average, yeah. But confirmed sightings exist of creatures reaching 11 meters.
11 meter. Okay, wait. Put that in perspective for us.
11 meters. Just for scale, picture 3 full-grown great white sharks lined up nose to tail.
Wow. Okay.
It is a staggering physical presence in the water. Truly.
That mental image alone.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can see why old-time seafarers might mistake these incredibly long, really skinny, ribbon-like creatures for mythical giant sea serpents. They're just enormous.
And they are very thin, ribbon-like, but despite that profile, they carry serious weight. Sources indicate they can weigh close to 300 kilograms.
300 kilos?
That's equivalent to a large polar bear.
Oh, polar bear. For a fish that looks like a ribbon, that's wild.
It is.
And their appearance is, well, utterly stunning too, right? They have this kind of regal elegance, that iridescent silvery skin, the ribbon body, and then that unbelievable crimson-red dorsal fin.
Oh, yeah, the fin. It looks like this flowing red banner running right along their spine.
And it's topped off with that sort of prickly red faux hawk or crown on its head.
Exactly. That imposing, almost theatrical presence is precisely why it earned the nickname the King of Herrings.
Okay, that makes sense.
And fittingly, its genus name is Regalis. It definitely possesses a royal aura.
There's even this weird detail. Some scientists have apparently reported oarfish giving off electric shocks when touched. Is that right?
That's been reported, yes. Adds another layer of mystery, doesn't it?
It really does. But here's the paradox, right? A creature of such staggering scale, this menacing appearance, it's actually completely harmless to us.
Totally harmless. They have this tiny, almost vacuum-like mouth. It's optimized only to consume krill and plankton.
To tiny prey.
Very tiny prey. They simply have absolutely no interest in humans whatsoever.
Which brings us to the core mystery then. If they're so huge and they live way down deep, like up to 1,000 meters down.
Right, in the aphotic zone, the deep dark.
Why does anyone ever see them at all? Why do they come up?
And here's where it gets really interesting. Because the mechanism driving that folklore might actually be linked to their vulnerability.
Oh.
The sources are pretty clear on this. They only ever seem to come to the surface when they are sick, weak, or essentially on their way to die.
Oh, wow.
They often wash ashore already deceased.
So it's not like they're choosing to visit us.
Not at all.
Yeah.
And biologically, this makes immediate sense when you look at how they're built. They're designed for the calm deep, not for a fight near the surface.
Yeah.
They're actually not great swimmers. They possess tiny, kind of underdeveloped muscles relative to their size.
Really? Despite being so long.
Yep. And crucially, they lack a swim bladder.
Okay, hold on. For those of us who aren't marine biologists,
Yeah.
why is lacking a swim bladder such a big deal? What does that do?
Right. Well, the swim bladder is that gas-filled organ most bony fish use to control their buoyancy, to move up and down and stay stable in the water column without effort.
Ah, okay.
Without it, the oarfish is essentially kind of helpless against any serious water movement or displacement.
Yeah.
They're like these fragile streamers.
So no real muscle to fight currents and nothing to stabilize them internally.
Exactly. Their survival is completely dictated by the tranquility, the stability of the deep water they inhabit. This massive creature is incredibly susceptible to strong sea currents.
Which explains why, historically, most of what we knew came from those washed-up specimens.
Precisely. Or when they were accidentally caught as bycatch in deep-sea fishing nets. That was pretty much it for a long time.
But technology's changing that picture now, isn't it? We have subs going deeper.
We do. Thanks to more accessible submersible technology, used by Japanese and American scientists primarily, we've recently captured some actual live footage. And how they swim. It's just bizarre.
Yeah, I saw some clips. They swim vertically.
They do. Scientists observed them moving in this peculiar vertical posture head, pointing straight up towards the surface. And they move with this incredibly hypnotic, undulating motion of their long dorsal fin. They call it vertical swimming.
It looks absolutely alien, like something out of science fiction.
It really does.
Okay, so we've established this massive fish is physically quite defenseless and swims, strangely, vertically. And that vulnerability, you're saying, is the key to the folklore. How does that physical weakness connect to earthquakes and tsunamis?
This is where we bridge the biology and the geology. The theory, which is really the root of the folklore, is that when the seabed is disturbed, say by tectonic movement, even minor seismic shifts or maybe deep-sea pressure changes before a larger event, this generates unusual or extremely strong deep-sea currents.
Okay, currents they can't handle.
Exactly. And since the oarfish cannot control its own depth effectively or fight those currents,
Those currents just push them around.
right, they push the older, the weaker, or the sick individuals upwards towards shallower waters and eventually maybe on beaches.
So the fish are basically casualties. Casualties of the forces that might precede a major seismic event.
That's the hypothesis connecting the sightings to the events.
And we saw this correlation perhaps most dramatically with that 2011 Japan example you mentioned.
We did. People started spotting oarfish washing up as early as 2009. And eventually around 20 individuals appeared before the main earthquake and tsunami hit.
20 of them. Wow. You can see how that would reinforce the local belief that they are, what was it, the messengers from the sea god's palace?
Absolutely. It fits the narrative perfectly from their perspective.
And this whole idea gained renewed global attention just recently, too. In 2024, there was that cluster of 3 oarfish that washed up in California.
That's right, yeah. On the shores of California, an area that sits right along the San Andreas fault line, part of the infamous Ring of Fire.
So, okay, now we have a clustering of sightings happening in 2 separate, very seismically active areas, Japan and California. Wait, hold on a second, though. If 20 fish showed up before the huge 2011 tsunami, and then another cluster shows up near the San Andreas fault, how certain is the science that this is just coincidence? I mean, aren't those physical forces, those strong currents caused by seabed shifts, aren't they kind of the definition of a warning sign, even if the fish doesn't know it's predicting something?
Oh, and that's the vital distinction the scientific sources really emphasize. It's seen as a correlation based on mechanical displacement, not on any kind of foresight or prescience from the fish.
Okay.
The scientific consensus currently is that the fish are pushed passively by these physical forces. They are an effect of the deep-sea disturbance, not an intentional warning sign of the disturbance. That makes sense. The fish isn't anticipating, it's just being moved.
Okay, I think I get that. So the folklore gets the timing potentially right, fish appear, then something bad happens, but it misunderstands the mechanism. It's an indicator of deep-sea turmoil that might precede an earthquake, not a conscious prophecy of doom from the fish itself.
Precisely. That's the current thinking. And it's important to remember, seismic activity isn't the only possible explanation for why we might be seeing more of them or seeing them surface.
Right. What else could be pushing them up?
Well, the sources list several other factors. Think about changes in water temperature, perhaps stratification changes due to climate change, or maybe increased water pollution closer to shore, which could weaken them. Deep-sea noise pollution is another potential factor. Things like military sonar or heavy shipping activity could disorient them.
Okay.
Also potentially decreased availability of their main food, krill, maybe due to overfishing or ecosystem shifts. Or even just localized diseases could weaken fish, forcing them into unusual depths where currents grab them.
Lots of possibilities besides earthquakes.
Lots of environmental stressors. And we really can't ignore the modern context either.
You mean?
The fact that almost everyone now carries a high-quality camera in their pocket.
Ah, the citizen science effect.
Exactly. A sighting that might have once gone completely unreported.
Yeah.
Maybe a lone fisherman saw a weird skinny fish wash up 50 years ago and just thought, weird. That same event today is instantly documented.
Right. Photos, videos shared globally within minutes.
And amplified. So it definitely elevates the perception of frequency. It can make a series of rare, possibly unconnected events look like a sudden, ominous pattern.
The information age potentially makes every rare event look like an impending crisis.
Something like that, yeah.
Okay. So if they're not prophets, what are they in the grand scheme of marine life? Let's connect the dots a bit more on their biology. Their family tree apparently holds some surprises.
It does. As we noted, despite that nickname King of Herrings, DNA studies show the oarfish is actually a lampriform, so it's related to other ribbonfish and crestfish.
Which makes sense. Visually, they look related.
Pretty intuitive, right? But here's the kicker. The sources also note they are evolutionarily related to the massive, perpetually surprised-looking ocean sunfish, the mola mola.
Get out! The mola mola, the giant swimming head. How? Family trees really are weird.
Uh-huh, they can be. But if you think about it, the resemblance makes a bit more sense through behavior, not just looks. Both the oarfish and the mola mola are incredibly slow-moving. They eat very small prey relative to their size, and they're largely, well, benign giants, almost passive.
Okay. Yeah, I can see that behavioral link. Like giant, slow-moving plankton feeders. One's long, one's round. Luigi to Mola's Mario, perhaps?
Huh, maybe. They both sort of occupy this niche as massive, almost passive deep-sea oddities that humans find fascinating.
So what does this all mean for you, the listener, the learner? Beyond the, amazing size and the thrilling myth, what's the true ecological value of the oarfish?
Well, interestingly, their very vulnerability makes them potentially crucial ecological markers.
How so?
Because they are so sensitive to changes in their deep-sea environment, oarfish can serve as important, measurable indicators of the health of those ecosystems. These are environments that we often overlook, right? Because they're out of sight, way down deep, and notoriously difficult to study directly.
And the sources suggest these deep-sea populations are actually under real threat from human activity now.
They do highlight that, yes. Things like overfishing, especially of their krill food source, and deep-sea contamination, potentially from pollution or mining, these seem to be leading to a verifiable decline in oarfish numbers.
Which makes monitoring them even more important, even if the sightings aren't prophecies.
Exactly. It shifts the focus.
And this is where citizen science, like we talked about with the cameras, becomes genuinely essential, right? If you, our listener, happen to see a documented report of an oarfish washing ashore, the critical thinking we did today shows that documenting the details, the location, the condition of the fish, the surrounding environment all helps.
It absolutely does. It helps scientists build a more accurate picture, distinguishing physical forces from superstition, and maybe tracking stress on these deep-sea ecosystems over time. Every data point is valuable.
So wrapping up, the oarfish is this creature of absolutely staggering size, immense deep-sea mystery, and acute biological vulnerability. Its appearance on our shores seems driven more by physical currents and its own fragility rather than any kind of prophecy.
That's the picture emerging.
Yeah.
It's a massive, fragile streamer that acts almost like a barometer for the health or perhaps the turmoil of the deep sea.
A deep-sea giant that's less of a warning to humanity and maybe more of a casualty of its environment or changes we're causing in it.
And maybe that leads to the final thought here. If we connect this to the bigger picture, given that we are learning more and more about these deep-sea habitats thanks to new technology, perhaps the oarfish isn't really a prophet of doom for humankind's immediate disasters like earthquakes, but maybe its increased presence or even its decline signals a different kind of danger, a real, verifiable danger to the often ignored deep-sea ecosystem itself. Maybe the message isn't about our impending doom, but about the doom we might be bringing to their world down in the dark. It demands we pay closer attention to what the currents are carrying.
That is a fascinating and pretty humbling thought to end on. Thank you for joining us for this deep dive into the oarfish, the king of herrings, the messenger of the sea, and, well, the world's longest and perhaps most mysterious bony fish. We'll see you next time.